Winter can be tough on chickens, but what if I told you that it doesn't have to be tough on chickens, it can be easy for them and it can be easy for you. This is especially important if you live in a cold environment like we do here in Wisconsin. I'm going to share with you our plans on building a chicken greenhouse. Greenhouses take in a lot of heat, they retain it, they allow the chickens to have natural light, it keeps them out of the weather, but with all the benefits of being outside. The greenhouse we plan on building is 12 feet wide and 32 feet long. That is because we're building this on a budget using 3-foot sidewalls, and then we're going to use our arch trellises that we use in our garden, they're cattle panels, to create the arch shape and then eventually put greenhouse plastic on top of that. This is a budget way to have a greenhouse if you want it for what greenhouses are actually intended for, or if you want a greenhouse like we do to house our chickens for the winter. This is the design we came up with for our greenhouse to put our chickens in for the winter. And please don't get me wrong, our chickens are only going in this greenhouse for the winter. We have a different location that we put them in the spring, summer, and fall. This 2x4 right here is exactly 12 feet wide, which is the width of the greenhouse. The sidewalls, which this one's almost complete and this one needs to be assembled still, will be 3 feet tall or 36 inches. That's really important because once you start putting up the arch trellises above that, it's going to give you a lot more headroom. It's going to make it feel a lot bigger in here when you're working with the chickens throughout the winter months. Being 32 feet long, it's going to give the chickens good square footage per bird. We have 32 birds in our flock, by the way, so it's plenty of space for them. We have about 12 to 18 inches of wood chips that I'll be putting in here that I'm getting from the power company, and they'll be delivering those within the next few weeks right over here next to this greenhouse. So I'm just going to put a whole bunch of those in there. It's going to help with sanitation, it's going to mask the smell of the manure, it's going to create compost. It's a win for them and it's a win for us. We've had chickens for many years now and the winters have been okay. The chickens are fine. They make it, they tolerate the snow, but they don't really like the snow. They end up going underneath the chicken coop, staying inside sometimes if it's really cold, or just wandering slightly around the chicken coop, but not really using the entire run space that's provided for them. The water freezes really quick. I don't really want to run long extension cords out to the chicken coop where it currently is to heat their water all winter. So I thought a greenhouse would be the best thing for our chickens. The first 5 or 6 feet of the chicken coop right here is going to be for us, humans. So there's going to be a door in the front, and then there's going to be some kind of fencing with a door right here to keep the chickens away from where we are going to be housing supplies. So I might have additional bedding in there, straw or something for their nesting boxes. I plan on having their food bins here, basically a spot for us to store things out of the weather, but it's not something that the chickens can poop on and roost on and create a mess out of. And it gives us just this little area that we can just be. And so when I open the door to go into the greenhouse, the idea is that chickens can't run out, as there's going to be another door about 6 feet further in, fenced off, and they're going to be completely confined on that side and the back side of the chicken coop. Also, on our design, we're planning on having roosts all the way toward the back of the chicken coop because we're not really going to be going there too often. It's the farthest distance away. The nesting boxes will be a little closer, freestanding nesting boxes. I recently acquired some rollaway nesting boxes that are freestanding. In other words, they don't go against a wall where you access them from the outside. So we will have to walk inside the coop, probably in this first area, to get the eggs. In the same spot over here, I'm probably going to put their food and water. So this first area will be a high traffic area, not only from the chickens eating, drinking, laying eggs, but also us humans who are tending the chickens all winter long. And I can tell you, it's going to be a lot nicer tending the chickens in a greenhouse which receives natural light. It's going to be a whole lot warmer. And it's gonna be nice just getting out of the weather. We've got an old garage over here where I just store things in. The reason why that's important for this particular setup is because we have this old garage which has power that I can run an extension cord out from that garage, which isn't far, maybe 30 feet or so, to this greenhouse. And the reason why that's important for me is because I want to have lights inside the greenhouse. I don't plan on using the lights, at least at this point in time, to increase natural light time so they lay more eggs. That's not the idea here. I believe that if God created chickens to lay eggs at certain times and then to rest at certain times, we should honor that. I plan on running lights along the top of this greenhouse because we might need to come out here at 7 o'clock at night to do something. And in the winter here in Wisconsin, especially around Christmas time, it's pretty much dark by 4:30, 4:45 p.m. And if I come out here at 5:30 to do something, it's gonna be pitch black. I don't wanna have a headlight or a flashlight to do stuff. I wanna flip a switch, turn on the lights for 5 or 10 minutes, do what I have to do, and go back inside. So it's a really efficient way of being able to work when it's dark, the darkest months of the year, the coldest months of the year, and to have decent lighting so you can see what's going on inside this greenhouse. If you're not sure what an arch trellis is, you're currently looking at one. It's heavy gauge steel, usually galvanized, 16 feet long when it's laid out. Cattle panel arch trellises are ideal for this because they're not super expensive. They're also not really cheap, and I do need 8 of them, so it will add up. However, I am going to be using this one, and one question I'm sure a lot of people are going to have is that how do you support the arch trellis, especially if you get a huge snow load like we often do here in Wisconsin in the winter? Well, once I have 8 of these lined up and going down, attached to the sidewalls, 32 feet long on the greenhouse, I do plan on using trees about softball size, maybe slightly bigger than that, as posts, prop them on the ground, and I do plan on propping up these arch trellises perhaps every 8 to 10 feet. There's going to be a post, and then I'll take a board and run that along the posts lengthwise, 32 feet across, in order to support these arch trellises. This chicken greenhouse build is going to be a series. I'm not sure if it's going to take 3, 4, or 5 videos. I'll kind of see how progress goes as time goes on. One of the reasons why that's important is because I know I'm going to get questions on a material list. And I can give you a rough material list, not an exact material list, because I think building things that suit your needs to size is really important. Where you live, you may have only a dozen chickens, so you need a greenhouse half the size of this. Where you live, you might have 50 chickens, we have 32, you might need one that's much longer than this or want one. So I can tell you the most important things you're going to need are cattle panel arch trellises. They're approximately 4 feet wide, actually 50 inches, so calculate that out. You're going to need 2x4s if you want to use sidewalls like we are. Some people put this right in the ground. I think it's just too small to walk through. I do suggest sidewalls. Some people use 2-foot sidewalls. I've seen people use 4-foot sidewalls. I went with 3. I think that's a happy medium. The ones that were 2 feet looked a little too short for me. I just want, you know, I'm 5'11", we're gonna have a lot of chickens in here. They're gonna be in here for months out of the year. I just want that bigger space. So you're also gonna need, once the sidewalls are propped up, you're gonna need hardware cloth. I plan on using 1/2-inch hardware cloth all the way around the sides. Of course, you're gonna need snow greenhouse plastic, strong stuff. I can leave a link to that. I've already found some I plan on purchasing. But all of these materials are going to accumulate over time. It's still gonna be a budget build. However, I wanna make sure I build the whole thing first before I start suggesting to people what they need. This is the completion of the sidewalls, and we've got the right sidewalls, again at 36 inches or 3 feet, and the left sidewalls over here, the same height. So from one side to the other, it's 12 feet wide, and you've got 32 feet in length going that way. We've got 4x4 reclaim posts all along here for the most part. I'm working with things like reclaimed lumber from old pallets, barn wood, all kinds of things, rough sawn lumber. Some lumber is purchased from the store, some is not, which was kind of a challenge. But every 8 feet, I would put a 2x4 on the top like this, and then at the 4-foot mark, I would support it again just to make it more stable. Once we get a little bit more bracing here, because this is 12-foot board right here across, we're then gonna add the cattle panel trellises to act as the arch before we put the plastic on for this greenhouse. Now, there are a lot of steps before you put the plastic on. That's probably the last thing you actually do. We need to work on door framing, some framing in the center for extra support, some posts, framing in the back end. All of that stuff to come in a future video or 2 or 3 or 4. Thank you so much for watching. Stick around for future episodes for this build series. Take care.